The Book of the Damned, by Charles Hoyfort, Chapter 8. We shall now have an unusual experience. We shall read of some reports of extraordinary circumstances that were investigated by a man of science. Not, of course, that they were really investigated by him, but that his phenomena occupied a position approximating higher to real investigation than to utter neglect. Over and over we read of extraordinary occurrences, no discussion, not even a comment afterward findable, mere mention occasionally, burial and damnation. The extraordinary and how quickly it is hidden away. Burial and damnation, or the obscurity of the conspicuous. We did read of a man who, in the matter of snails, did travel some distance to assure himself of something that he had suspected in advance, and we remember Professor Hitchcock, who had only to smite Amherst with the wand of his botanical knowledge, and lo, 2 fungi sprang up before night, and we did read of Dr. Gray and his thousands of fishes from 1 pailful of water, but these instances stand out. More frequently there was no investigation. We now have a good many reported occurrences that were investigated. Of things said to have fallen from the sky, we make, in the usual scientific way, 2 divisions. Miscellaneous objects and substances, and symmetric objects attributable to beings like human beings, subdividing into wedges, spheres, and discs. Journal of the Royal Meteorological Society, Volume 14, page 207. That, July 2, 1866, a correspondent to a London newspaper wrote that something had fallen from the sky during a thunderstorm of June 30, 1866, at Notting Hill. Mr. G.T. Simmons of Simmons Meteorological Magazine investigated about as fairly and with about as unprejudiced a mind as anything ever has been investigated. He says that the object was nothing but a lump of coal. That, next door to the home of the correspondent, coal had been unloaded the day before. With the uncanny wisdom of the stranger upon unfamiliar ground that we have noted before, Mr. Simmons saw that the coal reported to have fallen from the sky, and the coal unloaded more prosaically the day before, were identical. Persons in the neighborhood, unable to make this simple identification, had bought from the correspondent pieces of the object reported to have fallen from the sky. As to credulity, I know of no limits for it, but when it comes to paying our money for credulity, oh, no standards to judge by, of course, just the same. The trouble with efficiency is that it will merge away into excess. With what seems to me to be superabundance of convincingness, Mr. Simmons then lugs another character into his little comedy. That it was all a hoax by a chemist's pupil, who had filled a capsule with an explosive, and during the height of the storm had thrown the burning mass into the gutter, so making an artificial thunderbolt. Or even Shakespeare, with all his inartistry, did not lug in King Lear to make Hamlet complete. Whether I'm lugging in something that has no special meaning, myself, or not, I find that this storm of June 30, 1866, was peculiar. It is described in the London Times, July 2, 1866, that during the storm, the sky in many places remained partially clear while hail and rain were falling. That may have more meaning when we take up the possible extramundane origin of some hailstones, especially if they fall from a cloudless sky. Mere suggestion, not worth much, that there have been falls of extramundane substances in London, June 30, 1866.